I know you, and a lot of people probably know you as 𝐬𝐭𝐿𝐴 or Daley Kong on Twitter.
Yeah.
What is the spiritual meaning behind 𝐬𝐭𝐿𝐴 or Daley Kong? Can you give us some insight into that?
I mean, I would say Daley Kong is definitely like my actual handle, and I would say my internet name, and I've had it for a long time. It's just because I'm a huge Donkey Kong Country fan. So when I was coming up with what I wanted my handle to be, it kind of clicked. But actually, funnily enough, I know you do a lot of Zelda stuff. I like Zelda stuff.
Awesome.
Before I was Daley Kong on Twitter, same account, I was Daley DQ. Doesn't quite have the same, effect. But I kind of like alliterated, and I was Daley DQ first. But yeah, it's not spiritual. I love Donkey Kong Country, and 𝐬𝐭𝐿𝐴, because I work for Playtonic, is just
isn't any
𝐬𝐿𝐴.
love for the DK games somewhat spiritual?
Yeah. Privately, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe we all know a few people that has a few candlelit shrines for our old DK pals.
I have a lot of DK merch. I always think it's funny when someone dares buy me Donkey Kong merch, because there's a chance I already have it. So I always kind of dread it as well. I've been gifted the same. There's one particular figurine people keep getting me. I think I've got about 4 of them. I mean, I don't mind. I like it. I keep them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I have like a Donkey Kong shrine, kind of. I'd say it's more of an obsession at this point.
All right, so out of your usernames, you briefly mentioned it, but once again, for the people that are listening, and so that I don't screw up either, which username or name would you prefer to go by?
Oh, it's definitely Daley Kong. That's been my Twitter handle for a long time. I changed it to 𝐬𝐭𝐿𝐴 kind of as a joke. I need to switch it back. Thanks for reminding me, actually.
All right. So how did you first get your start in the gaming industry? Right now you're doing social media for Playtonic, I think. Playtonic, I mean.
Yeah, I do basically all communications for Playtonic at the moment. So that's like social, community, marketing, PR, all that fun stuff. Like anything that requires communication, I do that. I dabble in a bit of writing as well for the games. We won't get into that. But no, basically, I think my story is a little bit unusual, I guess. Basically, I was working a job that I hated when I was like,
nice.
I think I was 23, and I was working as like an administrative assistant in a college. Super boring stuff, and they fired me. And it made me angry.
Great.
And I was standing outside after being fired, thinking, how am I going to, like, just being afraid, I guess, for my life, because like, how am I going to pay bills, all that stuff. And I kind of just decided in that moment that I'm not going to work jobs that I hate anymore. So I was like, I want to work in video games. Over the next few years, I basically just put myself out there. Like I knew I was good at writing, I knew I was good at social media, so I mixed the two. I started writing for gaming websites for free, getting some freelancing gigs.
Can you name off a few of the websites?
Oh yeah, I'm not endorsing free work, by the way. It's just how that's kind of like how I segued into it as a way to kind of like demonstrate my passion, I guess. But I mostly wrote for a website called Cinelinx.com. They're an American website who focus on a lot of movie and game stuff. So I kind of came in and kind of gave them a bunch of like retro gaming content, which was a lot of fun to do. I think my first article was like top 5 Super Nintendo soundtracks. Like I came straight in with that. I couldn't wait to write about that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
And I networked with the local developer scene up where I was from, which I didn't know existed. I had to do loads of research and hunt them down, basically. And eventually, an indie studio picked me up as their community manager. They're called 𝐂𝐴𝐺𝐬𝐿. And then I moved. After 3 years, I moved on to Rare. And then after 18 months, I'm now at Playtonic. So like the whole process of deciding I want to work in games and then actually getting that first job, I think was about 2 years, 2 years long. Yeah. So but it was fun, but I had to keep persisting,
Yeah, there's a lot of talk especially lately, about how much harder it is for some of the women in the gaming industry, because there's always the stereotype, which I've seen countless times on my own YouTube channel, when we have a female guest, or even if it's just one of the usual podcast I have has 2 guys and 2 girls, and we'll all get together and do the podcasts, or we'll get together and one of us will read and write a scripted video for the channel, whether it's like a top 10 list or a theory video talking about the lore of some game. And if it's by a female, then there's always that one person in the comments that's like, I can't take any of this seriously. How would a guy, or how would a girl know anything about this game, let alone any game? Like, I can't take this seriously. So I imagine that you probably had to deal with some of those people as well.
Actually, I feel like I've been very lucky in that I've not faced a lot of that, or no, like, I know it exists, and I've had some light stuff. I've had guys being a bit inappropriate, but I would say I feel like I've been quite lucky compared to what I've seen other women go through, definitely.
That's awesome. So moving on from your first little, I don't know what you called it. Would you say it was an indie studio before you moved up to Rare?
Yeah, I was with them for 3 years.
What was it like transitioning to Rare, and around what time was this? What games were they working on that you were coming into?
For Rare, I was coming in before the launch of Sea of Thieves, so I was to come in and kind of help them pre-market that and launch that. It was a little bit crazy. I've got to admit, like, I didn't plan for this, by the way. Like, as much as I'm a huge Rare fan, and by extension Playtonic, I never thought, hey, I'm gonna work for Rare and Playtonic. Yeah. It happened accidentally, I swear. So I got an email from a recruiter, and he said something like, "Hello, David. There's this job opening at Rare, and for a community management role, and I think you're really suitable. I've had a look at your CV." So he'd emailed someone completely different to me. He did not mean to email me.
Nice.
But I emailed back. I'm sorry, David, that I emailed back. I said, well, actually, this sounds great for me. Do you want to have a look at my CV? And I ended up getting the job. I'm very sorry for that original recipient.
Yeah, we just need to figure out if anyone is a fan of the show Community, which of the timelines we are in. Maybe this is the evil timeline where like someone's life just got completely ruined.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is the good timeline to where like Rare could have been ruined by this one guy and you saved them.
I think I prefer that theory. We'll go with that one.
Yeah. So what was it like, first off, like, I imagine this for you would be something similar to me, going from, like, writing, because at the time, a few years ago, I was writing for a few different Nintendo and Zelda fan sites. So I imagine going from doing that to actually working for Nintendo in a similar position, just writing, whatever it may be. How was that for you, getting there and realizing, oh my god, this is the dream job, this is what I wanted, this is my favorite studio developer, this is almost everything that I could ask for? And then is there like a weird vibe when you get around the other employees, because you're like, oh my gosh, these people are like, they've been working here for however long, they're like legends or whatever. Like, obviously not someone hired the same day as you, but like if you go into like the Nintendo's main office and you see people like Aonuma or Bill Trennan or whoever walking around, in your head you're like, I don't deserve to be in the same room with these guys, what's going on? So was there anything kind of like that with Rare?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't believe it. Like, when I got the job, like, I got the phone call, And they're like, yeah, you've got the job. And I was like, are you kidding? Are you sure? If you know this is you're speaking to me, right? Daley.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and being there as well was just overwhelming. Honestly, it was. It was a lot to take in, but I will say that I guess by that point, I'd been in the industry for 3 years already, and I'd been to like quite a few events and already met some of my heroes. So like I wasn't totally like freaked out, but there were certainly people who would say hello to me and I'd say, you know, something stupid in response. It'd be like, how are you? And I'd say yes, you know, because I was totally just like overwhelmed by their presence. But yeah, there's an element of that, but I guess I didn't feel unworthy. I felt lucky and grateful. I was very much like, hell yeah, like this is really cool.
That's awesome. So nearing the end of your time there at Rare, what was that like for you? Was it something that you knew that you were going to be doing for a while? You just had to find the right time to do it? Were you asked to go from one to the other, or are you allowed to talk about any of that?
Well, basically, it was the end of my contract, and I'd kind of, I guess, decided that I was ready to move on. Like, just I gotta say, working on a live game like Sea of Thieves, like, you know, is really tough, especially for someone in like the community team or like communications or whatever. It's tough because it's constant. The community never sleeps, and sometimes neither did I. And I'd spoken to Playtonic like a good few months before I'd, you know, sort of fully decided, and I felt that I felt that I was probably a better fit going to another smaller studio, back to a smaller studio again, and working on something that wasn't online constant, you know.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I did it though. Like one of my goals, like career goals when I first started, was to work on an online game, so I got it. But it's really tough, and I have like mega respect for any like community manager who works with an online game, because it is, yeah, like I said, tough, very tough.
Yeah. A lot of people think that like as soon as one game ends, all of the developers and everyone in the building just immediately begin working on the next game, which might be true in some cases, but a lot of the times it's like half the team or a large portion of the team that stays behind to like work on patches or DLC and stuff like that, to just keep updating and fixing the bugs and stuff and other anomalies that are found in the old game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much goes on behind the scenes with Sea of Thieves. Like, the development team are super dedicated. Like, on it was crazy. It was crazy for all of us, you know, not just the community team. It was everyone. It was, you know, constant. And I was like, you know what? Slower pace. Slower pace for me.
I remember from my point of view, seeing it at E3, and I never got to play it at E3, but everyone that I talked to that did play it at E3 said that they provided an almost scripted like experience for the demo, to where it would be kind of impossible to play the demo and not have fun, because even while you're holding the controller, like the people that are there trying to teach you or kind of performing as a character that would be in the game, like giving them advice with the I can't think of the word, the accent of the pirates.
Yeah.
So I could see that would be kind of fun to be with that. But the actual game itself, I've seen a lot of people playing it at launch, and then over the next coming weeks I've seen even more people that I didn't think would be that interested in it giving it a shot. So I'm glad that it worked out as well as it did.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It sucks that it was such a drastic toll on your time though.
Yeah, it just you know, I still love the game, and I think it's very special. And yeah, I got to see firsthand like the passion and love that went into it too. Like, those devs like really believe in that vision, and they put so much of their like time and hearts into it. And when I first went into it, I was worried that I was going to ruin the game for myself by being behind the curtain, you know, but actually I feel like the experiences I got at Rare, seeing people work on it, playing things earlier, helping with testing sometimes, actually made it more magical for me, like, you know, because I got to see it then and then I got to see it now, and it was just, I don't know, it's a very, very special game. It's just, working at a larger studio and having to manage an online community was just not exactly to my tastes.
Yeah, so when you made your trip to Playtonic from Rare, what was that kind of like for you? Because you're going from I would say the larger studio to the new upcoming studio, and would there be some kind of rivalry there? Because I think like just the idea of the two existing, and you know, one coming out with ukulele when everyone's wanting Banjo-Kazooie, but no one's doing Banjo-Kazooie. Microsoft and Rare, for some reason, aren't doing the game that everyone is wanting them to do. So then another studio comes along that I guess like half or more than half of the developers and even the original composer and everyone comes back to work on this game that by all accounts should be considered an indie game, but it starts getting reviews and talked about as if it's like a first party game from Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft, and it does so well that apparently they decided to just do a sequel to it that, like, not even a direct sequel either. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't call it a spin-off sequel, but it does take it into like a new direction and everything, and offer completely different play mechanics. So
yeah,
it's not just building off of the success of the last game and being like, oh, it's just part 2, come play it, have fun. It's more of what you liked. It's actually trying to, even though it's a sequel on its own, it's trying to be unique on its own. Like, it could have been, I don't know. I think the name is really helpful, and that it has the ukulele name in there, but it also... Like, it's not Yuka-Tui or whatever you would want to call it.
I would say in terms of narrative, so in terms of the story that's happening in the ukulele universe, it is a sequel. But in terms of the genre, it's not, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, it was really cool to see that that's what Playtonic were working on as well, because I know everyone was wondering, and I was wondering. I was like, what are they doing next? where is Playtonic? I've heard nothing from them. So when I initially went in to speak to Gavin about potentially working for Playtonic, I signed an NDA and they showed me the project, and I was like,
kicked all the doors down. And
I could not believe
show
it.
me
I was
the
like,
computers.
okay, yeah, where is it? Show me now. And it plays a lot like Donkey Kong Country, so I was like, okay, this is definitely where I need to. This is definitely the next job that it's almost like it's fated, you know? Yeah. So I guess moving from Rare to Playtonic was a change, because I'd come from working in a community team of quite a few people at Rare to going into Playtonic. There was me and Andy Robinson for a while, but now it's just me. So, like, it's just me on all the communications. So I had to learn to be like independent and multitask and be much less laser focused on one thing than I was before. But it was a very good move for me. Very, very, very happy. This is definitely the dream job for me. I've been there for just over a year now, and I'm not at all sick of it. I look forward to every day. I honestly do. I've never had that with a job before where I'm genuinely like every morning, like, yes, skipping to work.
That's awesome. And where is Rare and Playtonic both located at? Like, do they have offices in different areas, or is it all just one main management place that they run out of?
Oh no, Rare and Playtonic are like completely different companies.
No, I know that. I mean, but like, are they located like near each other, or is it like one's in another country, or?
No. So Rare is in a little sleepy village called Twycross. It's kind of like nestled away in what looks like a secret base. And then
Nice.
I would say I think it's like perhaps 40 minutes in a car away is where Playtonic is.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're not too far away from each other actually. So,
Yeah. So I feel dumb for some reason because yesterday, whenever I was thinking of the time, I was trying to think of, well, I'm in Eastern and most of my friends are out in like LA or the western side of not California, Canada. So they're in PST, and I just assume because of my American ignorance that everyone else must just be somewhere between like Texas and wherever else, Chicago. So whenever you gave me that time, I was like, oh, well, that's not EST, but maybe that's like an hour ahead or behind, like, because I'm used to dealing with people that's like 3 hours ahead or 3 hours behind. But then it ended up I'm just a complete idiot and it's like 7 hours behind. And so I totally ruined yesterday for the people that were expecting this podcast a day sooner. So this isn't live right now, by the way.
all right,
but
yeah, I was about to ask.
it will be in a few hours after I am
cool.
lazy enough to, well, after I'm not lazy enough to get up and actually do something.
Hello, people. A few hours in the future. I hope the world still exists.
Yeah, this is actually a bit rare, pardon the pun, for something to be recorded but not live streamed. Like we usually live stream it, and then that'll go up as its own thing, and then we post the audio version on iTunes and everywhere for people to listen to. And then if there are different major topics or subjects that the interview has, like if the first half is about video games and then the second half is about how they got to work in the video game industry, then one day, like part one of the interview will go up in an edited form. So it might be a bit confusing for some people, but I'm sure it's easily understandable. But this will just be its own special thing, because we got really confused on what to do, because we were excited to have you on, but I wanted to do this as more of a one-on-one interview, kind of like how I had last week with my friend Mo Chocolate, if anyone knows him. He was on the PlayStation's TV series called The Tester, which was like their attempt at a nerdy reality show, which was the best thing ever. But anyways, with you, like, what is it like now that you're hard stuck in the gaming industry at one of the best indie companies that there are, I would say, like, because you do like, well, it's odd because there was the whole thing with like Rare was mostly noted for Nintendo, and then Microsoft bought Rare, and then I don't know when the timeline happens or we're at in the timeline, but somewhere along the lines some of the people leave and then eventually found Playtonic. And you wind up there. So like, how is it for you just being in the gaming industry at this place, to where, like, is there a rivalry, at least a friendly rivalry between Rare and...
It's tough because I feel like the two companies are so different. Like, I mean, of course, like they have the like similar histories in that we have developers who worked on the same games, like in a Rare golden era. But like Rare is a company of, I think there's over 200 of them now. There's like over 200 people at Rare, and they're a first party studio. And then you've got Playtonic, and there's like 27 of us. we're just a little indie studio, you know.
That is
So
insane.
it would be weird to call us rivals because I feel like we're, different in a sense. Like, do you know what I mean? It would be like it's like putting two very different things against each other that aren't necessarily similar, really. But yeah, maybe there's some like friendly jabbing now and then, but I don't think there's anything like really of note, if that makes sense.
I look at it as maybe someone, okay, look, so like someone like you, and probably the many other people over the past 10 years or so who have also made the jump or just left Rare to go to any studio, whether it be PlayStation, Microsoft, or Nintendo, or whatever. I think that people see it as like a banjo versus ukulele. Like, people are asking for, well, they were asking for banjo to be in Smash Brothers, but then other people would reply to those tweets and be like, no, they're not going to get banjo because that's Microsoft. Ukulele would be a lot more likely, and then that would like fuel the fires even more. Even though we were at E3 listening to the COO, I don't know what his title was, but he was in charge of Xbox's Xbox Live Marketplace. And when they asked him which Xbox character he would love to see in Smash Bros, he didn't say Banjo-Kazooie, which is what everyone thought he was saying. He said Master Chief, because he felt that Master Chief, above anyone else, is the best representation mascot for the overall Xbox brand. Because if people see Banjo, then they're probably thinking back to when Banjo was on Nintendo 64. They're not thinking back to Nuts and Bolts or whatever. So going back to you, what are some of your favorite games? We're going to go through 3 or 4 different points in time to figure out like your biography of favorite video games. So what was the game or the couple of games that got you started in the gaming industry or made you want to actually do more than just like, oh, I can play a game, cool?
Oh, that's I've never actually had anyone ask me it in that way before. I definitely Time Splitters 2 has to go there now, because there are things in Time Splitters 2, like there was specific moments in it sometimes where I would really laugh, because a joke someone made or something that happens in the game that I thought, it felt like the developer had done something a little bit unusual, and I thought, hey, I someday want to contribute to making someone laugh because they've played a video game that I've worked on.
I have unusual thoughts. I could do this.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I have that in now because they let me do some writing for the game.
That's awesome.
Because I got to do just a little bit of writing for Impossible Lair. Because you find these things called tonics, which are like consumable items. They all have different effects. I wrote the descriptions for those, and I managed to fit in quite a few jokes and references that hopefully people liked.
That's awesome.
Just little stuff like that.
I've had a few friends been streaming the game on Twitch, so I'll have to ask them what some of their favorites were, and then send that to you to see if any of them were you.
Well, yeah, tonic descriptions are mine, but any jokes in there, there's Donkey Kong references and everything lit all over the place.
Nice.
But yeah, I'd say Time Splitters 2 was definitely a game that I played as a teenager and was kind of like, I want to make people feel like this. It was just because it stuck with me. I still play it a couple of times a year as well. If you haven't played it, play it. Well, actually, I don't know if it's aged well. I just play it well because I've been playing it, forever. But no, fantastic. And as for another one, I guess I have to say Donkey Kong Country 2, because that's my overall favorite game. And I would say it was the catalyst for me even liking video games to begin with. I feel like I wouldn't be here were it not for that.
Were you able to hear any interesting stories while working at Rare about the Donkey Kong series, or any behind the scenes stuff that you may or may not be allowed to share?
That's a really tricky one, right? Because I have so much Donkey Kong Country knowledge. So I've got it like all stored in my brain. I got a lot of it from 𝐷𝐷𝐻𝐿, I have to say. But because I've been listening to 𝐷𝐷𝐻𝐿, Donkey Kong focused podcast for years and years and years and years as well. So like my head is just stacked with this like useless Donkey Kong knowledge. And so it's hard for me to distinguish between what I learned from 𝐷𝐷𝐻𝐿 or what I learned from a developer themselves. so it's tough. Like it's like, you know, and there's just this stuff that you can find on the internet that often people don't know though. Like for example, see, I don't know how interesting these facts are to anyone who isn't interested in Donkey Kong Country. That's another problem I have when someone asks me to go ahead with it. I'm like, well, did you know this particular pixel here?
Well, who isn't interested in Donkey Kong is my question.
I did discover something super nerdy and only interesting to people. I think only interested to like people who are really, really fans of the Donkey Kong Country games. I don't know if this is too boring to get into, but basically, if you play the two-player mode of Donkey Kong Country 2, specifically for this case, you get different coloured clothing for Diddy and Dixie, and Dixie gets different coloured hair, right? So they have like a palette swap, and when Dixie does her hair twirl in this particular palette swap, there are actually a few frames of her animation that revert to her original colour. So it's almost like a bug that they didn't catch. So I took this to a Donkey Kong Country 2 dev myself, and I was like, hey, did you know this? And he's like, oh my god, no. So I found it something like...
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? I don't know what happened.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, where did I come off there?
You said that you had it for like so many years or something like that, and then it cut off.
Oh. Maybe just breaking the internet. No, I just said, you know, I found something like 25 years later. That's the only thing I can say that I definitely heard directly from a developer that I hadn't read on the internet prior to that.
Yeah, but that's really awesome though, when you can go back and find some of that old stuff, especially if it's you that's doing it.
Yeah.
It
was pretty magical.
Yeah, with me, my history of video games might be a bit boring. It basically started with A Link to the Past, when
I had an idea. I had an inkling it might be.
yes. When my parents would wake my older brother and I up for him to go to school. I wasn't quite old enough yet. One parent would stay with him to get him ready, take him to school. The other parent would stay with me to keep me from doing whatever it was a 3 or 4-year-old was doing. And to do that, they would play A Link to the Past with me. So I sort of became addicted to The Legend of Zelda at a very young age, and when Ocarina of Time released, that just ended it for me. Because after that, like, I played through that game, got Majora's Mask, played through all of it, and then when there wasn't anything left to discover in the games, I started going online and being like, wait, there's other people that are like scavenging for news as well, and they just post them on these websites all together, nice and neat. 'Cause at the time, I think there was news about Twilight Princess that was coming out. I remember there's a website saying that like they haven't announced the official title, but it's The Legend of Zelda tentative title for 2005 or 2006, because I think it was before it was delayed, and it looked amazing. Like you could see the stitches on the shirts, and then it just got even worse when I was out of school and Skyward Sword released, because then all my free time was just looking up games. And then I found out that I could instead of just looking at these websites, I could write for them. And then that ended up going into, why am I writing for all of these different websites for free when I could just be like turning these articles into scripts and reading them for videos and making my own money. Like, instead of making $10 for some website and $1 for me, I could make the $10 for me. So
yeah,
it's kind of greedy, but at the same time, I needed to live, so it seemed like a good idea.
Yeah, no, it's when you can turn your passion into work, like, it's great. 'Cause
Yeah.
obviously we've both done the same thing, but in very different ways and like on different formats, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so out of I posted yesterday. I seen it on another podcast. They were doing it a bit differently. They were going through each of the each year throughout the 2010s and picking out their favorite games from those years. So from the past 10 years, if you could just name 5 of your favorite games, and if you feel that you have any pressure, you can leave anything from Rare or Playtonic off. That way you're not pressured or feel you have to place them there.
Oh, I never would. Because I feel like it's a given that I love those games, so I never feel like including them or anything. The last 10 years, that's a tough one, because I'm super into my old games, but there are new ones that I pick up that I love. Okay, Undertale definitely goes in there. Undertale is like, I feel like that sits in my top 10, like, overall. Like, that game absolutely just changed everything for me. I love it so much. I listen to the soundtrack all the time. So we've got Undertale in there.
Okay. I can see that because it's one of the first games that I seen my ex-girlfriend's son playing, and he was like 5 or 6 at the time.
Yeah.
And then I would be online talking to my friends who's like around the same age I am, or like in their 30s, and they're playing the same game too. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's like one of those rare games that just like transcends age. Like it makes everyone interested just because of the gameplay.
So. God, it's absolutely fantastic. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was either. A friend actually bought it for me and bullied me into playing it over a period of months. He was like, play it, I know you'll love it. And I was like, I don't really like the art, can't be bothered. And then I did play it.
Nice.
And it made me cry like a baby at one point, and I was messaging him like, you're right, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Undertale, Toby Fox is great. I feel like this next one is maybe a boring one to say, but again, I wasn't expecting to like Super Mario Odyssey as much as I do. So I'm going to put that in there as well. Like, that game had me hooked from beginning to end. I couldn't believe how much I was enjoying it. When I was playing it, I was like, okay, this is literally like just, I want to say perfect. It's near perfect. I'm not going to call it perfect. It would be perfect to me if I was better at it. I know that's my fault. But that's the only, some of the like maneuvers kind of like confuse me a little bit. Yeah. Sometimes I do them by accident, that kind of thing.
It's like,
and there was a challenge that I really hated, and it made me so angry. It's the one where it's one of the ones where you have to go without your hat, which I don't like. And it's just a room full of the spitting piranha plants spitting poison. Mm-hmm. And you have to get to the other side. Oh my god, that took me so many attempts. I couldn't. It was so I'm getting flashbacks thinking about it. Honestly, it was so painful.
The PTSD.
Yeah, absolutely. I never want to see that room again. Yeah, I mean, do you like Super Mario Odyssey? Have you played?
Which one? Super Mario Odyssey?
Odyssey, yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. My thoughts on them, because it has that really weird multiplayer that it has, to where like one person can play as Cappy while the other plays as the character, and then eventually they did the balloon hiding game that you could play multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
I always wished they would have just went full multiplayer from the beginning, but maybe that's something like that's the big feature that they were saving for Super Mario Odyssey 2, to where now you can play it online with your friends on the levels and stuff. Because Luigi's Mansion and new Super Mario Maker, or whatever the new Mario Maker is called, you can play online with your friends.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's just what they've kind of been doing with some of their traditional, like, home co-op multiplayer games, is like they'll release the updated version of the first one, or they'll release whatever the first one is, and then the second one, they slowly start to push in the multiplayer. Because they even had an interview not too long ago with their CEO where they said that they were going to be pushing their online service more aggressively now than they were in their past. And yeah, so if that statement can be taken as like 100% true and not just something that investors would want to hear, because to investors, if they hear that, they might think, oh, well, that means more people are going to be signing up for the online service, which means I'll get more money. So
absolutely.
but yeah, it's a great game. It's just every time that I play a game that's that great, even with Breath of the Wild, like it had the Wolf Link amiibo where you could have Wolf Link run around beside you. And I always thought, like, why have the computer run around with you when you could easily have a second controller, like, pick up and play as Wolf Link? And absolutely nothing in the game would change at all. It would just be this character who is already there, already being controlled by something that is not you, is now suddenly being controlled by your friend. So that's my thought on it. I just like enjoying games a bit more, playing with friends. But
yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So before we get to the final question, how would you say your overall experience in the gaming industry has been, and especially where you're at now with Playtonic?
For the most part, massively positive. I would say it's been positive. I would say it's like, because I've been in the industry now for I think 6 years, 6 or 5. Like, I always go on my LinkedIn and sort of like add up my job experience, but so that was like my mid-20s to now 30. I feel like it really helped like form me even more as a person, and like it grew me like professionally too. So I would just say it's been challenging but fun. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It's like playing The Witcher or something, you know.
Nice.
Something like that. Yeah. It's like the challenging parts are just, improving, iterating on what I do, having to learn things. I've made mistakes in the games industry. Of course, I have messed up. I've been told off, told to behave myself. But no, it's like I couldn't be happier. I'm really glad that my life turned out this way. Like, I just, if 10-year-old me knew what I went on to do, she'd be very happy but nervous. So I'm glad she didn't know, because she probably would have messed it up with nerves.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
And probably true. Like, if my younger self knew, then they probably just would have ruined it all for me.
Exactly right. Exactly.
It's like, how dare you, future self, have the job I want? I will somehow make sure you don't have it, but I do.
I feel like sometimes like work like mine or work like yours is presented to everyone else as like like a pipe dream, like it's not possible, it only happens to a few people. But I don't think that's true. It's actually, it is it's not to undermine like the work we do, but it is tough and it takes a lot of focus. But it's absolutely like not impossible, and it's not that out of reach. I think that I've seen a lot of people try to get into the games industry, and I've seen a lot of people get into the games industry after trying, coming out of university, a student, or maybe not even coming out of university. I did go to university, but I dropped out. But that's another story. But anyway, the people who I've seen not make it are just the ones who gave up, like maybe too soon, or maybe they thought it would be easier than it is. They took things for granted and assumed if they did these few things and it's a given. It's not. Like, you have to keep adapting. Like, even if you set an original goal and you think, hey, I don't seem to be going toward my goal, you're still going towards something. Like, I didn't sit down and say, I want to be a communications person for video game studios. No, I sat down and said, I want to write stories for video games. But I had to do all of this stuff first to even start dabbling in the writing for video games, And that's not bad. I've had a lot of fun around the way. Like, I've enjoyed every moment of it. I think just persisting and a little bit of lying to yourself. So like when I would go through stages of not believing in myself at all. And honestly, when it was really rough, like sometimes I would have to choose between electricity and water, like, 'cause I was struggling. I was really struggling, and it was really hard to believe that it was ever going to pay off, that it was ever going to get better, that I was ever going to get a job I liked. But in the end I did, and I just lied to myself, said, no, it's going to be fine, just push through it, even though everything feels like it's falling apart around me. I feel like I'm giving a motivational speech. I don't mean to.
No, it's totally fine. The whole point of it is sort of to be motivational, that someone will listen to this and have some sort of relation to what you're saying, or maybe they've went through something somewhat similar, and so it encourages them to keep on pushing through and trying to finish whatever project they're working on. So
yeah, I think I feel like sometimes people focus too much on the ultimate goal. I feel like a better thing to do is make a bunch of little goals and kind of use them as stepping stones toward the big thing that you want eventually.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like sometimes people get so blinded by the ultimate goal that they're not looking down and seeing where they're stepping, so they trip up. It's a bit of a metaphor, but hopefully someone understands what I mean. Like, just break it down and do little things and reward yourself for that. Don't, instead of beating yourself up because you're not where you want to be yet. So, yeah.
So I mentioned that I had the final question a few seconds ago, but a couple more came up while you were talking about that. So I hope you don't mind. So one is, out of all of your, because I do want to end it on somewhat of a positive thing. So to keep it the encouragement going, what are a couple of the most amazing or mind-blowing moments that you've had with any of your careers, whether it's at Playtonic or wherever? Like, maybe you're sitting in a room and like some game developer that you've loved for a long time comes and just has a casual conversation with you, or you get trusted with information that you should never have even been in the room to hear in the first place, which has happened to me sometimes when I'm like, I don't need to hear this, I don't work for your company. But
yeah, I mean, so when I try to remember fun moments, sometimes it can be funny ones too, because I try not to take, as much as focused as I am, I try not to take like my life or myself too seriously all the time, always. And like, one of my fondest memories like in the games industry so far is actually when the day I had my interview for the job at 𝐅𝐼𝐬. I just kept messing up, like in comical, in the sort of way you'd see in like a sketch. So I was given some coffee when I was waiting in reception, and then Craig Duncan, the studio head at 𝐅𝐼𝐬, had come down to greet me because he knew I'd come in because we followed each other on Twitter. And because I was just nervous that he was suddenly there, I took a huge gulp of the coffee, which of course was red hot. So I burned all the inside of my mouth, but was trying to keep a straight face to like hide the absolute agony. Shook his hand and everything and met him, and I was like, oh, what could how could this get worse? And then when I was actually having my interview, there's a thing, I don't know what this insect would be called in America, but basically it looks like a flying spider.
Okay.
And I'm absolutely
so
terrified.
An evil hellspawn.
Oh my god, it was so... Yeah, I'm really, really frightened of them. I'm not frightened of actual spiders anymore, but these things can get out of my house. It came
Wait,
into...
they're in your house? That's even worse.
No. Oh, I hope not. One came into the interview room and was like...
A briefcase.
Hovering above like my
one...
interviewer's head. And I was
came in with the
to...
briefcase and a portfolio, and it was trying to get a serious job.
Took my job from me. I would have swatted it. But yeah, but no, it'd come in and it was like hovering above the people's heads who are interviewing me, and I'm trying to like maintain eye contact and cool, at the same time.
Yeah.
But inside I was screaming.
Now, the truth is, everyone that was in the room were 100% aware and had 99% of their attention focused on the flying spider. They were only 1% focused on the actual conversation. So in everyone's mind, they're like, oh my god! But
that's the thing though, they fly silently, and they hadn't noticed. It was just me.
Okay.
Just me, silently, like, because what I wanted to do was like scream and leave, but there was that. And then my other favorite moment was when at Playtonic we did the announcement of Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. So I literally had to like press send tweet, and I had the whole studio gathered around me, and they like covered me in confetti when I pressed send tweet.
Pressed the wrong button.
Oh, and we actually got lag, so our announcement went out like 2 minutes late.
Nice.
Yeah, but no, that one was great because it just like the sort of, what's the word? There was just a lot of love. It just felt like a lot of love going on in that moment.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, I can't see you, but it would be kind of weird if I could. But anyways, we're doing this as an audio only thing, so everyone watching can't see you, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I just want you to wink if Yooka-Laylee 3 is being worked on. Can you do that for me?
Can you see me? Can you see her? Let me just go. Okay, are you? You made me genuinely paranoid.
No.
But are you gonna try and do something with the audio so you can turn it up and hear my eyes shut?
No, it's just a joke. Cause like I'm sure people in the comments be like, you interviewed someone from the blah 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 and you never asked about a new game. So this is me asking. Give a wink.
Yeah, I'll just say outright. As for our next things as a studio, we're absolutely like a lot of people said, oh, does this mean you're never going to make a 3D game again? Because it's 2D and 3D, but anyways. They're a bit worried that because we went the 2D platforming route that we're not going to do 3D stuff again. Well, I would say don't worry, we're not done with it. Like, we've said that plenty of times. There's lots of different genres we'd love to work on, and we're really excited. I guess we just wanted to take a bit of a break. We didn't want to go straight from Yooka-Laylee to a second Yooka-Laylee game that was a 3D platformer. We needed to do something else first to kind of like, I don't know, it's like a creativity thing, right? Like, go on to something new, gain some new skills, and then maybe move on to something else. So yeah, don't worry. I'm sure everyone will be happy with what we have cooking.
Yeah. And with Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, that is the full title, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So with that game, with you being behind the scenes, was there anything that was in the game that was cut that you thought was really great? Because I always think of a bunch of stories, obviously Zelda related, but from like Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess, where they talk about like certain dungeons that they loved but they just felt didn't fit with the style of the game, but like they were already built complete, they just didn't fit the game, it made it feel too long, so they just literally took out a dungeon, and it's like, why would you, if it's already complete, why would you do that? Like, that's just more for the fans. But some stuff like that, can you talk about anything that you would have liked to have seen in the game?
I think it's because the game has only been out for a month. It's actually a month and a day. It's like, I don't want to say anything because we don't know what we're going to do with the future of the game, and I could say something right now and then actually it could be a mega spoiler. So
true. Okay.
we haven't decided anything yet fully, but there were definitely things, there were absolutely things, but I think if I was to talk about them, it'd probably be in a year or so when I know that like they either actually then went into the game or definitely never, if that makes sense.
Okay. And then finally, well, second before the final question, the penultimate question.
Uh-oh.
if you could have a chance, because I always love hearing other developers and people from different companies answer questions like this. Mm-hmm. If you could work on any previous Nintendo game or remake or be part of a team at Playtonic that is remaking or creating an entirely new version or a sequel to any old game like Super Mario Sunshine, Donkey Kong 64, anything, no matter if it was like a Super Nintendo game or something that just came out a few years ago on the Wii U.
Yeah.
So any Nintendo game, what would you like to see your friends and developers at Playtonic work on?
F-Zero.
F-Zero? Really?
Yes. I'm such a huge fan, and I'm aching for a new F-Zero game. So like without hesitation, that's my answer.
That is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But I kind of wouldn't want to work on it at the same time because it would like maybe take away some of the magic. But if I had to choose, if Nintendo came and for some reason put me in charge of the decisions, made me the boss and said, okay, pick a Nintendo IP and work on it, I'd choose that one. Like, I would not even, no questions asked, I'd choose F-Zero.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's so odd, isn't it, that like so many F-Zero like games have come out that are like, you could basically rebrand it F-Zero and give it like some new textures and it would basically be F-Zero. Like, I mean,
kind of. Yeah. Like you got the music and the characters and everything that really makes it F-Zero.
Yeah. Well, anyways, thank you for coming on this little 2-day adventure of ours. And for the final question, who are some of your inspirations that are in the gaming industry? We were talking about stories earlier. So whose story, whether they're a games journalist, developer, someone who works on the audio, artwork, maybe they just have cool videos on YouTube, I don't know, just anyone in the gaming industry that you feel has a good message or has a good story. Like, there's a few speeches that come to my mind from people like Greg Miller that like whenever he won his first award at the video game awards, which I think are coming back next month. So that'll be cool. But he had a great speech talking about how when people think of developers, they think of people like Miyamoto or Hideo Kojima. Like, they think of the top leading people. They don't think about the people that like spend an entire week making sure the third bush on your left when you enter this room looks exactly right. So he gave a speech that was giving credit to a bunch of the unknown people from all the credits and stuff from the games. And then after that, there was a lot of other people that finally began giving similar speeches. But even if it's not a speech, like someone's story, like yourself, that really wanted to do something and then they finally got the chance despite whatever obstacles came their way, they were finally able to do it, and would be a good inspirational story for someone else to go and look up if they're also interested.
It's a tricky one for me. So does it have to be someone like famous, or can it be someone that
No, just
I know?
anyone.
Oh man, that is tough because there was someone who sprang to mind, but like I feel like talking about him would, like I'd potentially say things about him that only that would maybe be too personal, and I don't want to go out and say things about his life without his consent.
Okay. Understandable.
But, I'll message him after this because I know he'll listen to this. I'm going to say that was you. So for the record, him, but I can't name him or anything. I honestly, nobody else is really springing to mind in terms of like how they influence the industry. I could only speak about people who influence me, who've influenced me, I guess, which sounds kind of selfish, but
no, that's kind of what I was asking. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so it definitely in that case, if it's like who's personally like inspired me, like whose content am I looking at every day? Like who do I aspire to be more like? It's definitely. I was gonna say Kermit the Frog as a joke. It's not.
I thought you were going to say Diddy Kong or something. So Kermit the Frog also works.
Yeah, no, it has to be Hyle Russell of 𝐷�K𝐸.
Okay.
That guy has run a DK, like a Donkey Kong Country like community, well more than Donkey Kong Country community for like over 20 years now. Like I was listening to his podcasts when I was, trying desperately to forge my own dream, and it was inspirational to me because it was like, hey, there is someone as nerdy as me, and they're doing what they love, so I should do it too.
That's
and
awesome.
So like I would encourage anyone who's like wanting to like I guess like expand on their own kind of like passions and make it into something they want to do is like seek out people who are like you, who you feel are like you, and like just kind of watch them do their thing. But yeah, that's the one for me. Like if I had to name someone who inspires me every day, it's definitely him.
All right. And before we go out, a bonus question: will we have a version of the BK rap or DK rap for Yooka-Laylee 3? Will there be a version?
The Yooka-Laylee rap already exists. So for Yooka-Laylee, but we didn't release. The thing is, the reason like quite a lot of people don't know about this is because the Yooka-Laylee rap wasn't released in the game. It's just on YouTube.
Oh.
Yeah. We actually hid it in Impossible Lair though, so it's technically in the Impossible Lair. But
now,
no, the Yooka-Laylee rap exists.
Is it also by the one and only Grant Kirkhope?
Absolutely.
Sweet, because we had him on a while back, and it was an amazing conversation.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, and especially when we started talking about that. But anyways, I guess that's the perfect way to end this. For all those people who are playing the new Yooka-Laylee game, try your hardest to get to that rap. And if you can't, just be a loser like me and look it up on YouTube.
Yep, it's in both places. One of them is it's really, really hidden in the game. We did tweet about it though, not long ago. If you, I challenged the community to find it, and eventually someone did.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes,
don't normally.
Thank you.
I don't normally have as much fun, so it's been great.
Awesome. Yeah, I had a lot of fun too. I was a bit nervous because I thought I would get on, and then from missing yesterday, that kind of it's a horrible first impression. So like after something like that, you expect the other person to be like, let's just get this over with. But you've been really awesome. So
thank you. Yeah.
yeah, I guess do you have any final thing to say for the people listening before they get off?
I don't think so, other than, you should maybe think about buying ukulele if possible.
Nice.
I'm not a shill, I promise. I was trying to do it as a joke, but just lost it, absolutely lost it. But no, I'll just say, like, if you've got this far and you're still listening to me ramble, cool. Thanks. Basically that's it. I feel like there's something else that I wanted to mention, but I've totally forgotten.
Any social media that you would like to promote for people to follow?
Oh yeah, they can follow me. So that's Daley _Kong.
Now, are you a real Kong, or are you just?
I like to think so.
Okay.
Because I've worked with Playtonic and Rare.
Right.
So it's got to count for something.
Yeah.
I've got to be close to a real Kong. I often say Donkey Kong's my dad as a joke, but at what point does it stop being a joke and start being real?
Yeah, true. All right, well, it has been amazing having you on here. So if we have any other questions from the viewers, see, we usually have questions from the live chat is how we usually end, but since there's none here, leave any questions that you may have in the comments below if you're watching this, and if she doesn't run away screaming and decides to come back on a future episode, maybe we can get to some of those questions that you guys would want asked. And who knows, maybe a new game or DLC or something may be out by then that would give more stuff for her to talk about.
Absolutely.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye.
Hey everyone, it's me again, 𝐓𝐼𝐢𝐐. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. And you know what? If you're a fan of videos like this, you should totally subscribe and give this video a like and comment below to let us know what type of videos you would like to see us create in the future. And if you would really like to support all of us here at the �GameOverJessie channel, please consider purchasing a �GameOverJessie t-shirt or becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/�GameOverJessie, where you can receive many rewards, such as getting shoutouts, having any topic or theory that you select discussed on the podcast or made into its own video, having your question answered, joining on as a guest on the podcast, and playing with us during our Twitch live streams at twitch.tv/�GameOverJessie, and much, much more.